Greetings to all one of my subscribers. This video is brought to you by Red Bull and melatonin. What I wanted to do was to show off this machine, which I've called Savant because it has lots of logic and does smart things, probably smarter than me. I first put this drum machine together in order to do Soundbox, which is a recurring annual mini sound art festival out of Oregon State University. I wanted to put together a machine that people could sort of hear what was happening. Drums or percussion or something is something everyone can associate with on some level. And that even though this machine is really complicated, it's also easy to just do some things and hear a result. So sort of like the Tiny Tim, but much more complex. I was trying to put some usability into this. Not necessarily performance, because I'm just not that kind of guy. But I just kind of wanted to go over what choices I made with this and give a little bit of a sound demo. So we'll look through each module first. I have a series of multiples up here, just to copy signals. Then we have one of the drum voices, this DSM from Synthrotech. I know there are a lot of politics involved in dealing with Synthrotech, which we will avoid, but I got this in a trade and it makes a nice kind of fat booming bass tone. This is a Blue Lantern Asteroid BD. Use this as kind of a made like kick sound. Their Asteroid snare drum, which is probably the best snare drum that I've heard for eurorack anyway. Another thing from Blue Lantern is CMOS processor, which makes beepity beep sounds. Two of Blue Lantern's mini shimmery generators, which are similar to hi-hats, little like tappity tappity tap sounds. Then we have the core of the system, which is the Euclidean circles. This is what runs everything. It uses Euclidean math to create sequences of triggers. It's kind of hard to tell because these LEDs are totally out of control, but it makes it very easy to like change the order of sort of a sequence, like where it starts, where it stops, how many steps are in it, how many steps are currently lit up, and it gives you two banks of those. So there's 6 outputs, and I generally run these through the next 3 modules. The first one is the Bastel Little Nerd, which gives you a bunch of clock and trigger utilities. Right now I've got it set up to make one of these tappity-tap things tappity-tap a little bit more than it normally would. But you have a bunch of channels of this to manipulate sort of the signals that are coming out of that. Blue Lantern CMOS Party, which is basically just some logic functions that I can use to create alternative triggers if I ever need them. This thing from Tesseract Modular, which I love, this 8x8 buffered matrix, essentially it gives you a bunch of inputs and outputs, and then for each output you can route whichever of the inputs you want. So you can have, say, one of these channels going to 3 different ones, or going to none of them, or going to this one or going to that one, and vice versa, and it lets me really easily change around which of these sequences are going where. Next up, Blue Lantern Voltage Control Noise. This is a digital noise that can be used at low speeds for generating triggers, but also just has some really cool sounding like digital video game noise sounds. Next to that is a 2 HP freeze, which does exactly what it says. Signal comes in, you can grab onto a copy of it and it freezes it for a moment. You can make some glitchy sounds with it. It also does bit crushing and down sampling, and so you can kind of have these like momentary like change ups in your sound. This I believe is a Barton 4 decay envelope generator. Somebody made it. There's no label, but it looks like a Barton to me. And I use this to run this VCA. It basically takes one of the triggers, and I can tell this to open up and let something through for the amount of time that this is set to let it go through. So you can have snappy little things, or it can let it through for a longer period of time. Then the rest of this, I have 3 of these audio mixers from Noise Reap, which are really dusty right now. Probably not good for the faders, but That's what happens when you have a cat. I guess that's not dust. It looks like cat hair. 3 channels of mixing, a couple of outputs so you can chain them into each other. So we'll do a little bit of a sound demo, and I'll make a few changes so you can kind of see like what is happening, where and why and all that. Let's see. So switching up some of the patterns on the Euclidean just by adding extra steps. Turning it back down. Pretty easy way to manipulate the beat. And as I said, the little nerd, I forgot what the name of this function is, but it basically like multiplies the triggers. Hard to perform per se with these tiny things, but that's kind of the name of the game. Buffered matrix, let's change up some of where these sequences are going. Significant change in the beat just from rearranging that. Let's hear this sound come through a little bit longer. One of the neat things about the mini shimmery generators is it has this long and short mode. So it's pretty easy to kind of just play with this machine and come up with all sorts of different beats, whether you're after something musical or you're just kind of in it for the logic. Another thing that I'll often do is pull one of these outputs out of this buffered matrix and use it to drive something else. In this case, Chaos Devices Odessa, using one of these noise reef envelopes that's going to be fired off by one of the triggers that I send it from over here. So right now it's just turning on and off, but I can change the note using pressure points. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I haven't spent too much time with it yet. One thing I didn't go over is the Shubi from, the hell was they called? Panda something. Can't remember the name right now. I'm sure somebody will correct me later and shame me for it. Interesting module. I just haven't hooked it up this time. Believe it or not, you can choose to do that. Anyway, that is about it. And so now I will go.